So we'll hit record. John will hit record for us. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to have everyone. I want to thank Dr. Hong for being with us. Well, via Hawaii, but now at Western New England. And it's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Hong to speak with us today. He's an associate professor of pharmacology and going to talk to us about some learning styles and ways that we can help students learn. Thank you. Take it away.
All right. Let's see. Do you guys see my slideshow and the laser pointer?
We see the laser pointer, yes.
Okay, great. All right. So today I'm going to just talk about some of the stuff that I've learned from reading a book, this thing called Powerful Teaching. So here's that book. In case you're, I'll have a slide later on showing this title of the book and the authors and stuff. And so I don't know if you know, so in the internet, there's this thing, like there's this challenge called like, tell me you're stressed out without actually telling me you're stressed out. And he's going to go, you know, like do something that without, you know what I mean? Like, it's been a challenge. All right. So that people do all kinds of funny things. And I thought I would share this particular video. I hope you haven't watched it because, or you might have because it's so popular. So this teacher had a major problem during pandemic, obviously, including myself. We had to quickly pivot to online teaching, and there was a lot of frustration, angst, you know, stuff. So. All right, can you guys hear it? Not at all?
Not now.
Okay, let me see. Is it this one? Can you hear it?
You have to share the audio as well.
Yes.
Oh, how do I share the audio? Let's see.
So if you stop screen sharing and then go to share your screen again,
Okay.
you should be able to see like the little arrow next to the share screen button. If you click that and click advanced sharing options.
Oh, advanced sharing. Okay.
Yes, you should have the option to share with sound then.
Computer, audio, video. Which one do I choose?
You
know what? Let me try this.
Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna share a different screen. Hopefully it'll work. I don't know. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be mad. Can you hear it?
We're not able to hear it or see it now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh gosh.
But really, this illustrates your point about the problems with teaching virtually. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, share sound. Okay, gotcha. All right. I think this might work. All right, let me try again.
Hey, so as some of you guys might know, I'm a music teacher, and I found that one of the best ways that I can process the whole transition to online learning and teaching is to write a song. So I wrote a song. I'd like to share that with you guys now. Here we go.
Okay, so I guess my point is teaching is hard, right? It's this one's hilarious and
Hey,
but you can totally relate to the frustration and you know angst that we all have to deal with as teachers and educators. You know, sometimes things happen, and so so think of this my presentation as this is my version of, you know, tell me how you teach without actually telling me how you teach, you know, so I'll go first kind of thing. All right. I hope that makes sense. All right. So today it's going to be very simple, short, hopefully sweet. How I think about teaching, I'm going to use an analogy to kind of how I explain how I think about teaching. And then I'm going to move on to transition to talk about power tools that you can use in your classrooms and actually, or as a student. So we all learn, teach at the same time. Just a, strange question. Have you ever tried alligator meat? Right? No, I have only once. But it's really difficult to explain to somebody who haven't tried alligator meat how it tastes like, right? But if I use a simile, if I tell you it tastes like chicken, all right, it kind of helps, right? Because it really, like almost everything tastes like chicken, as you probably know. That, oh, okay, I haven't tried alligator meat, but according to Kyung, it tastes like chicken. So you have some idea of what alligator meat tastes like, right? Although you've never tried it before. I think, a lot of the students have this issue of when they learn something seemingly new, they can't quite relate to it. They can't quite put it in the context of their own repertoire of knowledge. So in this case, obviously, the metaphors, analogies, and similes, and things like that it comes quite useful. And this will be an example of that, right? And I'll show you another example. So when I was watching this TV show, there was this actress that came out and she explained how her grandmother used to feed her when she was little. So this was back in the days when I was growing up, there was no processed baby food or food processor that allows to make baby food. So what her grandma did, this is not her grandma, by the way, but it's just a internet personality. I think her name is Betty. It doesn't matter. What she did was her grandma took food, put it in her mouth, she chews it, and she spits it out. And AKA, this is pre-digested chewed food, and that's what she ate. All right? I know it sounds gross, but back in the day, that was one heck of a way of making baby food, right? And I think this is a great analogy of teaching and learning. It's like, what? I think of this grandma as me and the baby as a student, all right? So this is what I mean. I think my job is to take this raw food, I cook it, I chew it, I spit it out, make it into a digestible food, right? And then, so this is my job, right? Now the trouble is having the students eat it. So I keep telling them, I do all this work, but you still have to eat it, right? Which is quite challenging. So sometimes I try to spoon feed them, right? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm spoon feeding you this information. And sometimes I even go further. You know how some parents go like, make an airplane with their spoon? I'll even do that, all right? And that's what I'm doing right now. Actually, I'm trying to feed this to you. So, but, the hardest thing is that they still have to eat it themselves. And that's when my job kind of stops. And so it's really up to the students, whether I do all this work, try to make it easier to eat, spoon feed them, but if they choose not to eat it, there's very little I can do. Now, but when it comes to eating, I tell them you've got to eat it like a cow. What? And by the way, I'm waiting to hear from Mark Warburg's lawyer anytime now, because I use this image all the time. I'm waiting to hear from his lawyer, but anyway. So eat it like a cow. I don't know when if you have any idea how cows eat, but I think I should know a little bit about these cow eating, because as you know, I teach pharmacology. All right, so I should know a little bit about farm stuff. Get it? It's a joke. All right. So I think of pharmacology. So let's say you feed the cows, right? It's kind of analogous to consuming knowledge. But after eating, what do cows do all day is they keep chewing. They chew, but there's no food. You have already given them food, but if you see them, they're always chewing, right? Seemingly, there's no food. What are they doing? Well, they're regurgitating what they ate. And they chew it, they swallow it, and let it digest for a while. And they repeat, right? And this is very similar to the learning tool that I'm about to talk about. So regurgitating the knowledge you've acquired, we call this retrieval. All right, retrieval. Now, retrieval is not same as review or read, right? Because that's what most of the students do. It's not acquiring information. Retrieval is actively taking out information out of your head. That's retrieval, right? But you have to kind of let it sit, let it digest for a while, right? And we call that spacing. So in order to remember things more effectively and learn, what the students need to do is they not only have to eat it, right? But they have to practice regurgitation, which is retrieval, but they have to also regurgitate after a certain period of time at intervals. Not regurgitate, but retrieval, spacing, retrieval, spacing. I hope that makes sense. And the cognitive science, or scientists in education or cognitive science, they think they have data suggesting that this is a very effective way of memorizing and learning. Okay, so this book basically talks about 4 different power tools, they call it, but it could be a teaching and learning tools. And we've already talked about the retrieval, spacing, right? So again, acquiring information, reviewing, reading, highlighting, that's all about putting information in, right? But we're talking about actively taking information out. That's what's known as retrieval. So we have to let the students actually take the information out of their heads at certain intervals. So that's when the spacing comes in. So retrieval, some spacing, retrieval again, right? Again, the studies show that reviewing, reading the textbook, highlighting the textbook is one of the least effective means to learn. I know it's very counterintuitive because that's what we've been doing, right? Or what we've been teaching the students what to do. But actually, what's the most effective method of learning? Retrieval, followed by spacing, retrieval. And the book also talks about 2 other strategies. One is interleaving and metacognition, and I'm going to talk about these now. Oh, yeah. So I'm sorry. Before that, I'll show you some data regarding retrieval and spacing. So here are different ways of retrieving method, brain dumps, 2 things, retrieve taking, retrieval guides, mini quizzes. So basically quizzes, so I use a lot of Kahoot quizzes to kind of test, to actively kind of initiate that retrieval process at given intervals. So that could be another quick way of stimulating retrieval and what students have learned. And this kind of shows a data of college students, whether they remember information after rereading in the short term, but retain significantly more after retrieval practice over the long term. So 5 minutes after either retrieval or rereading, obviously rereading, what they score higher, right? But after 1 week, most of it is gone, right? They don't retain that information unless they practice retrieval, right? So this is exactly, so in the short while, the cramming, like, rereading, highlighting, it may give the students higher grade for the time being, but after 1 week, most of that knowledge is gone, right? So that's kind of sad, and that kind of beats the purpose of all of us spending such a large amount of time putting lectures together, blah blah blah, right? So without retrieval, the students don't retain long-term memory. And this is a similar data with spacing, right? So you don't want to retrieve, and then done with it. You want to retrieve, wait a while, retrieve again. So same thing, cramming versus spacing. They kind of start out similar, right? But after 4 weeks, after a month, the students retain much more information with the practicing spacing. So this is actual data. I know it doesn't have any error bars and stuff, but I got this figure from the book. So it shows the effectiveness of retrieval and spacing, right? All right, now I'm going to talk about interleaving, which is the third power tool or learning tool. So the traditional course, this is the time, right? We kind of break it down into different modules or blocks, right? So let's say here's a block A, B, C, D, and we kind of go through whatever related to block A, right? And then move on to block B, talk about C, D, right? And we know that since this is a single course, they're also interconnected. But what the science tells us is that that is not an effective method of teaching. What is an effective method of teaching? And that's when interleaving comes in. So what the science tells us is that we should teach it this way. Not A, B, 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 but A, B, C, D, B, D, A, C, C, B, A, D. Not in this particular order, but you get the idea. You want to mix in different topics, right? But not in the exactly same order either, right? So notice that. And the most important thing, the requirement for this to occur, to work, is that they, A, B, C, D, these have to be related or interconnected. You can't just talk about, so A cannot be like literature, B cannot be math. You get the idea. So they all have to have some type of interconnection or relationship, otherwise interleaving doesn't work, okay? But this is, the science tells us that this is more effective than teaching in these blocks, right? Teaching A, move on to B, only talk about B, moving on to C. Rather than that, you want to interleave your topics like this. And also notice that this way, you're also practicing spacing, right? So here's a B, right? And then you want to teach B again, right? B, B, but there's an interval between talking about B again, right? So it's practicing spacing and interleaving at the same time in this way, right? So that's what interleaving means. I wish I could give you more specific example, but so think of these as different topics within your course. Again, this is a data that suggests that at the end of the practice, so it's after blocking teaching, students score much better after that topic, right? Because it's right after they just learn, B, 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 B. So they remember B much better, but after one day, single day, their score plummets down to 38%. Whereas when you do interleaving, you can see that they retain this information for a much longer period of time. So that's the data. All right, metacognition. It's a very strange word, and I was like, what? All right, so feedback-driven metacognition. So here's a question for you. What's the capital of Australia? Anybody? Take a guess. There's no penalty. All right. Most of you may have said or thought, oh, it's got to be either Sydney or Melbourne. I'm sorry. It happens to be Canberra. All right. So what I'm trying, so this question was intended to kind of help you realize sometimes we think we know the answer. Sometimes we think we know, but actually we don't. And that kind of process is we need to also correct those students. So a lot of times the students think they know something, they actually don't, right? But when they engage in retrieval process, their students are able to reflect on what they know and what they don't know, right? And that's what cognitive scientists call metacognition, all right? So what you need to do is you need to kind of somehow come up with ways for them to retrieve information on their own and make an assessment. They call it judgment of learning, right? Make an assessment. All right, write down something I know. Am I am I sure of this or am I not sure of this kind of thing? And then let them find the answer out, or you can correct them, right? So your feedback. So this is a very important part. If you just allow students to make mistakes, right? Answer wrong, make wrong choices in multiple choice questions, then just leave it. They don't learn anything. You got to feedback on it. So here's a kind of a sheet that the book talks about. So again, the word is judgment of learning. So you got to let them make a judgment of their own learning by either, so let's say definition of revolution, put the answer, am I 100% sure? Am I not sure? So they kind of make a judgment, and then later they can check the answers on their own, or you can correct them, right? By giving them why the answer was correct or why the answer was not correct, right? So here's a 4 steps of metacognition. Basically, this is same thing here, right? You can use this type of matrix to make them make judgments of learning. So that's it. So these are the 4 teaching learning tools I talked about today: retrieval, spacing, as well as interleaving, metacognition. So these are the 4 tools that you can use in your classroom or teaching environment, and also you can tell your students or tell your children about these very effective tools of learning and retaining knowledge for a longer period of time. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? I do have a Kahoot quiz if you have enough time to test your knowledge, what you learned today. If there are no other questions, I can move on to that, but let me know. Oh, is there any thing in the chat box, Dominic? Or
We just had one very astute pharmacist say Canberra as the capital of Australia. So, but aside from that, I think we're ready for the Kahoot.
All right, let's try it. Let's see, where's my Kahoot? If I can find it, it'll be nice.
Oh, and Barb, yes, we have been recording, so you will be all set.
So I think, let's see, start. Can you guys see the Kahoot screen? All right, let me see, classic mode. All right, so what you do is go to www.kahoot.it, right? And then you plug in this number, or you can do the QR code thing if you want to. You can use whatever your name, or you can use a nickname. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine. This is a low stake quiz. You don't, yeah. Where points don't matter all that much. Do you guys get to choose these icons, or just randomly?
They just get assigned, yeah.
The trouble, I never do it like be on the other side of the Kahoot quiz, so I don't know what exactly happens in that process.
You can change it. You can change your character.
Oh,
can?
nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice. I mean, they recently they kind of had this option of choosing characters, I guess. All right. It looks like 12 is the number. I think I'm gonna start it. Where's my start button? Right here. All right, ready? So each question you only get 20 seconds. So just to let you know. So in that video I showed you in the so this new teacher, what subject does she teach? Is it pharmacology? It was a music teacher. That's why she wrote a song. I don't know whether you guys heard it, but you know, it was All right, that's fine. But most of you got it. So let's see. Ooh, no name 2. Way to go. So the process of actively taking information out of your brain. Oh, sorry about the typo. I was remaking the quiz at the last minute. Of your brain. What is that called? Is it total recall, retrieval, return, relearning? I hope you get this cultural retrieval, yes. I hope you get this 90s reference, the movie called Total Recall. Most of my students don't get any of my 90s references, which is kind of sad, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Oh, Colt. Garrett, way to go. All right. So the last question. It's a multi-select, so you have to choose all that applies. Interleaving, rereading, metacognition, spacing out during the class. 3 seconds. Yes. What? Who says spacing out during the class? Come on. Or are you trying to be funny? All right. It is not reading. That's one of the least effective studying skills. All right, let's see. The podium, number 3. No name 2. Way to go. Garrett, congrats. Now, number 1 goes to Colt. Where are you? Colt. Well, thank you for your time and thanks for listening. I hope you found it helpful, at least entertaining. If not, let me know if you have any questions or want me to share my slides. I'll be more than happy to. Is there anything you want to say, Dominic or Melissa?
Just thank you so much, Kyung. I think we learned a lot. I love the interaction. I love the Kahoot. Takes me back to my time in pharmacy school, virtual pharmacy school for part of it. But yeah, thank you so much. We've gotta have you back sometime.
All right, yeah, sure. I would love to be back. All right, thanks, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.